Hi everyone, and welcome to the linear search video. So this video is focusing predominantly on Python. It's going to explain how to create a function that will look through a list, scan through a list, and see if it matches a piece of data that you're particularly interested in, whether that be an integer, a decimal number, or a string. So we need those two pieces of data. So we need a target data and we need that list. And we're going to write today a function that's going to use those two pieces of data in order to see whether it's in that list or not. The speciality about this function is that you're going to see it has two return values. It'll have a true or false. True being that the data is in the list, false being that data is not in the list. The construct used itself within the function is going to be relatively easy. We're just going to use a for loop based on the amount of items in that list and a selection to see, are you matching? And that's all it is to it. So I'm going to use Thonny again today to go through it, and I hope it makes sense. Okay, so let's get cracking with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a function. And if you remember, a function requires a return value. In this situation though, I'm going to have two return values, but let's not worry about that at the moment. I've just put that there so that I know that I need to make sure that I send something back once the program is executed. So I want to do something, repeat it, iterate it, based on the number of items in that list. So I can do for X in, and then let's call it listy because we're cool. And then I'm going to say if X equals, and we're going to need a variable called target. So then I'm going to say, brilliant, return true. And that's it. And that's all I'm going to do. Okay, it's crazy, isn't it? That's all I'm going to need to do. So if it's right, return true. Otherwise, we are going to not do much else. We do need, however, to return something if it's not in that list. And it's important here that we look at this indentation. Remember, this if statement is within this for loop iteration because it's indented. So for each item, it's going to check against the target. If it's there, it's going to return true. If it's not, it moves on to the next item, because that's what for loops do. That's what iteration does, moves on to the next item. But what happens when we've extinguished all the items in the list? Then all we need to do is return false. That's it. That's all we need to worry about. And that's our function done. Remember, our function won't work until we call it. So let's set up a listy. Let's make some data in there. So I'm just going to put some random numbers in there. There we go. And let's put 44. Perfect. Now, I'm going to make a variable called target. This is globally set. Okay, remember listy here is globally. It exists within the whole system. But in here, listy and target only exist locally. Okay, because they're found within that linear function. But these two are global. So I'm going to just use an input, make sure I've set it as an integer. Let's say type a number. Type a number. Is it in the list? Question mark. And then I'm going to just put a space there. And then I need to call that function. So how do I run it? So I write linear. Okay, that will call the function. What have I put on here? Close brackets. But I need to be able to store a variable. I need to store something in here. So let's call it found. Found equals linear. So because this function or any function returns a variable, you need to store the return value somewhere. So I'm storing whatever gets returned, either true or false, in found. And then I can use that then to write a custom found the data exists or it's not in there. But what does this function need in order for it to work? It needs two pieces of data. It needs listy and it needs target. So let's say, okay, you've got listy and target. And so these are the parameters that are needed in order for this function to work. If I forget to put one of these in and just send it one piece of data, when I come to save it and run it, this all looks really good so far, because remember, when we run a function, it's not actually, also we compile this code, the function itself is not really read yet at this stage because we haven't called it. So we're going to go through really simply. We've created this list. It's now waiting for us to type in a number. So let's just type in a number, 5. Press enter, and I'm going to get an error message. Now, this is exactly relaying the error that I wanted to occur. The target, this linear function, I've lost my mouse, needs two variables or two pieces of data, whether it's a list, an array, whatever it is, in order for it to work, or a tuple. But I've only sent it one. That's where the error is. These need to match. If I'm using the function that requires two pieces of data, it needs to have the right thing in it. So I've corrected it. Let's see what happens. Now I've got a feeling, let's just try this out. So let's put 5. It's worked, hasn't it? It's worked. I have no errors. There's no syntax errors. There's no logical errors. But I actually don't know what's come out of it because I haven't really explained it. So let me just get rid of some of these little lines here, and let's do. Let's print it. Sorry. Let's print found to see if. And then we're going to say, we can just be a bit smart on this. Has the target, let's put, and then some squiggly brackets in, comma, been found, question mark, close brackets, comma, is going to say true or false. So, but what I need to do here, I need to make sure that I put dot format here, dot format, and I want to say the word target. Has it been found? Let's see. And it has. It's been found. So let's try that again, this time with a number that's not there. So let's rerun it now. And let's say 6. No. And I don't know why I put a comma there, because that just looks terrible. Let's try that again. 6 has not been found. Perfect. Let's just quickly talk about this. I know this is nothing to do with searches. It's just syntax. And you might think, why on earth have I put squiggly brackets in the middle of my print? Well, if I want to use a variable, those squiggly brackets tell Python that the contents of a variable is going to be placed there. The dot format, which comes directly after the end of the speech marks, apologies for that, is telling the print command that I'm using the target variable. Okay, so let's say what happens if you want is, has the target been found in no, let's not do that, let's not worry about that, but I think that's enough for today. Well, that's the linear search coded in Python for you through an example of a function. So just a quick recap, a linear search needs to have two pieces of data. It needs to have the list and the target data. And all you're doing is comparing each item in that list against the target data. If you find it, great, it returns a positive value. If you don't find it, it returns a negative value. However you use those return values is up to you. But yeah, they're the stages involved. A couple of sort of theoretical notes to be aware of. The linear search doesn't have to be in order, so that's quite a good thing. Because you're checking each item at a time, it makes no relevance. You can't make it better by sorting the data. Okay, it'll be as efficient as it is either sorted or unsorted. Secondly, it doesn't take up much memory space. As you can see, there's not much to it. There are no sublists created, so there's no sort of divide and conquer like exists in the sort of sorting algorithms that we looked at previously. And also, it can be really efficient if the item you're looking for is the very first item. But I suppose there will be situations where the item you're looking for is the first item in the list. But there's a greater chance that that data you're looking for is further down in that list or that array. So, thanks very much for tuning in, and I will see you next time with our next video.